Hello. Are you confused and disoriented by all of these holiday makeup releases? We can already purchase, especially if you are in the US, all of the holiday makeup releases. And on the Instagram accounts that are specialized on beauty news, we can already see the spring makeup releases. It's crazy, right? But here I am to try to organize all of these releases, and I will also show you experiences from past holiday collections. So today it's the day of my ranking of most of the holiday makeup releases in the luxury category. I've selected 22 holiday makeup releases that I've studied, and I'll show you my favorites. In the ranking this time, I also took into account packaging because it's an important factor for holiday makeup releases. I will structure this video in three parts: the ranking first, the awards, and then my selection, what I selected for me, what I'm gonna purchase.
Hello from the editing me. The ranking took time, so in this video there will be the ranking only, and I will dedicate the next video for the awards and my personal selection.
I waited for all the collections to be released, announced, so I have a clear idea how to steer my money towards, because when you have an extensive makeup collection like me, then you want to bring only something that adds value to what I already have, to my stash. So I will reveal in the end my personal selection. For the pictures, I will refer to the usual Instagram accounts, especially Amit Beauty Talk, Point 2, WZ Beauty, Wazy Beauty, and Angel Naked Makeup. But I study these collections in the sense that there are already available videos from people that buy everything so they can show the product in real life. My favorites are Lexi Young, she's my favorite, absolute favorite, but also Olfisti, Jennifer, and Sophia Sees Beauty. I won't share anything from their channel for, a copyright reason, but keep in mind, when I'm talking about these collections in the ranking, then I carefully studied textures, colors, and of course, the ranking will reflect also my personal taste. So let's start with the ranking. I divided the different holiday collections into 4 groups, and then inside the groups I also have the ranking. So let's start. The group number 4 is the lazy group. Holiday collections that are ranked the lowest, in my opinion, they're kind of lazy collections. A lot of repromotes, or simply I don't like these collections. At position 22 is the Tom Ford makeup collection. It's too expensive for what the products are nowadays. So I'm not attracted anymore by Tom Ford. I used to buy a lot from the brand, but nowadays I'm not drawn anymore to the brand. But I like the spring palette. That is a good one in my opinion, because I think, just a suspicion that is not confirmed, but I think that the palette in the spring collection, or maybe Valentine's Day collection, I think it will have a wet and dry formula. But for the holiday collection is a palette with a standard formula. I've seen videos about it. It's so standard. I prefer last year collection. From last year, I picked the highlighter. I didn't bring it here, but I picked the highlighter because it was unique enough, although it was too much money. So I regret a bit my choice. But I like the palette from last year. And this year is more on the pink side, more ordinary, because we can find a lot of muted pink, neutral pink quads everywhere. And the formula of this palette from Tom Ford is nothing special. The shimmery body oil is not elegant, in my opinion. I'm trying to finish up my bottle. It's in my gym bag. Those glitters are no. I regret my purchase. The scent doesn't last. It was a waste of money. So I don't recommend. And then there's the highlight duo, quite ordinary and sticky, no. And 3 glosses that are overpriced, so it's a no. Position number 21 is the Westman Atelier. Westman Atelier has released kits for the holidays. So we have mini blushes, and that is my favorite release. And it's the one that I may consider purchasing. So the baby cheeks, 3 blush sticks. And then there's another kit with mascara, highlighter, and blush. I don't like stick highlighters, tend not to use them. And then there's a trio lipsticks. And there's also a brush set, very expensive one. The packaging looks like spring, like blooming garden, rather than holidays. It's just that I prefer other holiday collections. Position number 20 is the Burberry. So Burberry holiday collection has some connection with the holiday festive season. It's a red packaging, but still the products themselves are repeats, very basic. From the permanent collection, just with festive packaging. And there are 3 lipsticks. 2 of them are from the permanent collection. One is a limited edition, is a nude. Yeah, it's pretty, but lazy. That's the reason why it's here. Position number 19, Charlotte Tilbury. There are mini kits, again, lazy kits, a perfect chance to try with a good value Charlotte Tilbury products. The eye pop shots are back. There are all re-releases. The new thing is the palette, the 9-pen palette, but I prefer more the one from last year. This looks less special. It's the usual, pink neutrals that Charlotte Tilbury is attached to since the success of the Pillow Talk line. These are not my shades. I'm intrigued by the smoky quartz, the small eye pop shot in smoky quartz. I may consider it, but to be honest, it's very low in the priority. I have other things that I like more. Position number 18 goes to the Gucci holiday collection. Well, I don't like the packaging. I will put my Gucci blush on my Vinted soon, just because I find this small packaging unpractical. It's been a while since I'm tempted by the Gucci lipsticks. I may try one, and those rich brownish reds are my gem in this period of the year. But the palette is like kid makeup. I don't like the packaging at all. And also the content is weird color story, very warm based. I don't like 3 of the color, I only like the bronze at the bottom left. It's not enough. And also the formula from the videos that I've seen, because I've seen swatches, application, whatever, doesn't look so special, so smoothing and lightweight. So no, I don't like overall this collection. The blushes also, I don't find them special. People like them, but I don't. So yeah, this Gucci collection scores low for me. Then we have position number 17, the MAC holiday collection. There are a lot of kits, again, a bit overwhelming. The only kit that I like is the one with that cylindrical box. That would be a great cotton pad container. But it's a kit of lipsticks, all in the same color with different finishes. So it's a bit overwhelming. So I don't think I'm gonna do it. The duo, there's a duo of blush and highlighter. I don't know if the blush is baked gelée. The highlighter it is for sure. Palettes, I'm not interested in. A nice golden packaging, but I'm not into the formula. I like the brush set, but so it's a pretty collection, but there's nothing that excites me. Position number 16, the last one in this group number 4, lazy group, is Clé de Peau. I don't know, it's an aesthetic that I don't resonate with. Too full of images, details, it's too messy. I don't find it elegant. The products are nice, again, a little bit lazy. The palette is new, but it's something that we have seen already in previous holiday collections. So it's just a personal taste. The quality is there, of course, it's top-notch quality, but it's color choices plus packaging that it's not for me this time. So we finished group number 4, and now it's group number 3. Group number 3 is the nice group. I like them more compared to the group number 4. Nothing to complain, but I'm just missing the wow factor. Position number 15 is the Givenchy. Nothing special in terms of packaging. And the palette, to be honest, is lazy. I've seen Lexi reviewing the palette, also comparing it with my favorite palette from Givenchy, that is the 9.12. I have a video about that palette because it's an amazing neutral palette. That is a great palette. But this one is a warm tone palette, very shimmery with a pop of blue. It has one of the trends. So there are 2 main trends in these holiday collections in all the makeup and also fashion. One is silvery blue. The silvery blue is the central color in this Givenchy palette. And the other color that is everywhere is the burgundy. So this palette by Givenchy has that silvery blue that is a central shade, and then it has a pop of blue. The only matte color is that caramel shade that is very yellowish, orangey, warm. I like it, but I would have liked something cooler as well. Instead of some repeats here. For example, the top left champagne shade and the other champagne gold at the bottom row. So instead of one of those, I would have preferred a more cool tone transition shade that would have round up the palette better. And also nothing special in terms of packaging for the palette. So instead of that, pick the neutral palette. 9.12, that is an amazing neutral palette. And the rest of the products are quite standard. Also, I don't like the packaging, to be honest. It's a festive packaging, but I don't like it. Then number 14 is the NARS collection that has a bunch of products. The star of the show is the palette, the Baked Gelée palette that NARS releases every year. This is from last year, and I picked it later on with a discount last summer, so not too long ago, because I was interested in this shade that is a nice, cool tone pink. So very nice for the face. The formula is amazing, is, the Baked Gelée formula. But, I mean, once you have one, you don't need every single release. You see how smooth it is. It doesn't emphasize texture. It is very pretty. The effect is very elegant. So the Baked Gelée formula, the NARS palette every year is a must-have if you want something very smooth and very high quality. But once you have one, you then need multiples, especially because the other colors tend to be very warm. They are always the same. So these two are my favorite shades, the peachy one and this cool tone here. Also the gold is nice, but these are my favorites. And these, I don't care for them. This time there's a bronzer, but the bronzer as usual is too orange. If it was a more cool tone like this from Bobbi Brown, this is from last holiday collection by Bobbi Brown, this was a great bronzer, then I would have picked the NARS one, replaced this one with the new one. But I don't feel the need to buy the new edition of the NARS. The other thing are standard powders. Also, the blushes are not Baked Gelée. No Baked Gelée, no money. I mean, I will buy something if the formula is special enough, if I want to try the brand. But I know NARS and I know the other powder products. But it's pretty, the packaging is pretty. So it is in this nice category of safe choices. These are safe choices for gifts, but not enough special for me to purchase it. Position number 13 is the Byredo palette. It's called Transcendent. I don't know if it's truly related to the holiday season, but we see here the burgundy. So I said before, the two trendy shades for this season, silvery blue and burgundy. Here, there's the burgundy. The problem is that I don't like the formula. In these palettes, in this type of orchid, seashell, those type of palettes, the formula is very hard pressed. You have to scrap into the pans to get pigment. I don't like it. I decluttered my Metal Boots in the Snow palette. It was an amazing color story again, but it was just the formula that was not for me. Also, the two olive browns on the left are quite similar, so it's practically a quad instead of a quint. I think this is a palette that is so good in terms of color story that I will try to dupe with my B.O.B. version. So analyze the colors and find the better version from my collection, because I think I love these colors enough so that I think I have a better formula already. Position number 12 goes to Prada. Simple collection, a palette and 3 lipsticks. Packaging is not different enough, especially considering the price. That Prada palette is quite lazy, so maybe it would deserve a lower position in this ranking. I like the kits more. I think I will buy the kit of lipsticks. You have the burgundy again. The brown in the palette is a burgundy brown, but it's very similar to the permanent palette number 4 Poetry. It has already the pink and the brown that are exactly the same. Lexi showed it. And those are the two interesting colors, because other than that, you have a standard gold and a standard silver. So I think the Poetry is much better value. And I have Poetry again in my Vinted. I have in refill form because the formula is not my favorite. The metallic especially is the cream to powder formula that emphasizes texture. You have to be careful with the amount of product that you put on your lids in order to smoothen out and not having the opposite effect of emphasizing texture. I have formulas that I prefer more. Position number 11, in the middle of my ranking, is the Bobbi Brown. The Bobbi Brown holiday collection has a luxe eyeshadow palette that is called Dream Gleam and the sticks that are jewel toned. I'm particularly attracted by the green and the blue. The eyeshadow palette has the luxe formula, but keep in mind that there are two types of luxe formula. And unfortunately, Bobbi Brown is not clear about that. The luxe formula from the holiday collection, the holiday palette, is similar to this one. This is from a couple of years ago. Is again another luxe eyeshadow palette. This was called Precious Metals. And it is not baked gelée, you see, it's standard pressed powder. It's a metallic finish, but you see the pans all around. This is the best pressed powder formula that I ever seen. And I keep saying it every year. I love baked gelée. Baked gelée is still my favorite, but this is a close second. It's very nice, very smooth. So that palette from this year, the Dream Gleam palette, is in this formula. This were all metallics, while in that case there are mattes and metallics. And yeah, I like it because it's more cool toned. That being said, I think I'm fine with this, so I don't think I'm buying that one. The other luxe formula is the Baked Gelée. So from last year, this is from a couple of years ago, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago. This was from last year. So it was the luxe formula. They were called that time Luxe Eyeshadow Duo. And these are Baked Gelée. See? So these are Baked Gelée. So this is the formula that I prefer. So if there was something like this year, I would have picked it. But there are no Baked Gelée shades this year. Also, I think because Bobbi Brown has recently released a collection of quads. I picked one, don't have it here. They recently released this Baked Gelée formula, so for the holiday they stick to this pressed powder one. Nice palette, but I think I'm fine with this. It's not as special as the Baked Gelée formula. So keep in mind that Bobbi Brown calls luxe formula either the pressed powder one and the Baked Gelée. They both are called luxe eyeshadow, but only the raised ones, round ones, are the Baked Gelée, these ones. And there are no Baked Gelée shades this year in this holiday collection by Bobbi Brown. And there are also very creamy, opulent lipsticks. Those are nice as well. Packaging is pretty, so Bobbi Brown collection is at the top of this group number 3 of very nice holiday collections. And now we are going to group number 2. That is the relevant group. So the group that should get your attention. Products that are very nice in terms of formula or colors, more related to the content of the makeup itself rather than the packaging. So it's a group number 2 because the packaging is not as special as group number 1 that I'm going to show you soon. But in this group of relevant products are my favorites because since I don't care too much about the packaging when I buy products for me, I do care about the content more. At position number 10 is a Dior Backstage holiday collection. That is made up of only 2 products, a face palette and a eye palette. The high palette has a brilliant color story. Lavender pinks and blue tones. There's the silvery blue. There's also an indigo light blue, kind of a Bridgerton blue. And then you have the first row neutrals, warmer to be honest. That palette is nice. I won't pick it because the formula is not special enough and I can dupe it again within my collection. So I have no need for that. But the Dior face palette, yeah, most of the people complain because it's glittery, but that bluish highlighter I still want it, so I think I will end up buying that Dior quad. That is Baked Gelée. Now I recently picked something that here in Europe is a permanent shade, but in US people keep on saying that it was a limited edition, so I don't know, but it's this one. And as you can see, is the new version because Dior is written capital letters. So I wanted the new version, and this is amazing. I like the fact that I have pink highlighter. This is a peachy highlighter, but very smooth, as you can see. And in that, wow, it's amazing. And I like the fact that I have a quad, so I can combine, for example, this pink with a more cool toned whitish peach. So these are very smooth and are so pretty. Let me swatch all the palette. So I was impressed by this palette. I think they have reformulated, because I remember people saying it was glittery, but it's not glittery at all. So I think with the new reformulation here, they have improved it. So yeah, most of the people show the old version. I have the new version. I think it was reformulated 1 year ago. Yeah, because 1 year ago, this capital letter writing appeared. I think I won't be disappointed by the new one. Celestial Glow is called, from the holiday Dior Backstage collection. So I think I'm picking that palette. And yeah, there's a white shade at the top left, so at this position, that is glittery. But I was considering to buy the Fenty Glitter Bomb to have something, you know, sparkling on my cheeks. And that is the Dior version of that Fenty Glitter Bomb. So I think I won't be disappointed by the palette, because I know what to expect, and I don't expect smooth textures like this palette, but I expect something more glittery. That is fine as long as you know what you're getting, right? So I think I'm picking that, and it's also Baked de Gelée, and you cannot beat that shine, smooth shine of Baked de Gelée product. You see here, I think they look so pretty on dry and aged skin. Let's proceed with position number 9. At position number 9 is the Lancôme Holiday Collection. It's a very pretty collection, nothing to complain, and relevant product there. I'm talking about the eyeshadow palette. The eyeshadow palette is not Baked de Gelée. A nice girl commented below one of my old videos saying, oh, the Lancôme one is Baked de Gelée. It's not. It has a cream to powder. You can have a confirmation of that, because Baked de Gelée products like these are hard. If you try to press them, you cannot squish. You have a hard consistency. Like plastic, is very hard. And that is also a drawback, because they can be hard to pick up, you see? You get practically nothing. You have to insist a little bit. And it works because you layer thin layers of color. Then there are some shades that are easier to pick, like especially the metallics usually, rather than more matte shades. That's maybe the reason why the mattes are not so common to find compared to the metallics in that formula. But the Lancôme one are squishy, so they look like Baked Gelée, but if you press them, you can leave the imprint or your finger. So it's a more cream to powder formula. I tend to prefer Baked Gelée compared to that formula. And it's the same formula, for example, of the Lancôme, the Louvre collaboration. It's another great palette there. I think the palette is balanced, is neutral cool. There are two pinks that are quite similar. One is more duochrome, the other is more standard pink. Yeah, I wish there was again a transition shade. Packaging is not opulent as others, but very nice, special. And the content is high quality as well. You can't go wrong with the Lancôme Holiday Collection. At position number 8, there's Pat McGrath. It ranked well because it was not a lazy collection in my opinion. Made finally of special formula that is the one of the quints. So again, a cream to powder formula. Compared to the Lancôme is a little bit drier. You can pick less product, is thinner. Pat McGrath is bolder, you know. You get a lot of pigment, and you have to pay attention with the metallics. The best authority about Pat McGrath that has most of the eyeshadows is Mariam. So go check her videos because she's releasing videos about the Pat McGrath holiday collection. She has received the collection ready and she's making looks. Go check Mariam for the details. But the collection has a big palette that is all made of cream to powder formula. There are kits now on the Pat McGrath website. Then there are 2 quints and 3 duos. Now, the point is, there's even prettier collection this year. There are 3 quints by Kiko Milano that are amazing. I swatched them and I purchased them. I have to go downtown to the Milan city center to pick my Kiko package and I will show you. They are fantastic. So this time I've chosen to pick 2 quints from Kiko because I think they are more special than these. The quints by Kiko Milano are the same formula as Pat McGrath, exactly the same. So stay tuned for that video because you will be amazed by the swatches. Anyway, this collection by Pat McGrath is not lazy because they invested in a more special formula that is the one of the quaint cream to powder, and they have a nice range of colors. Now, I prefer the quints from last year compared to this year. I think the must-have is the big palette. I won't pick it up because the only row that I like is half of the second row and the bottom row. And out of the bottom row, there are 2 shades that are repeats, and the other ones are not unique enough to, trigger my curiosity. Go check Mariam comparisons because you will notice that also in the middle row, there are kind of similar shades from previous Pat McGrath collection. So the point is you can dupe Pat with previous Pat. That's my main concern. Even the green of the duo can be duped quite accurately by the Celestial Odyssey, that is a palette from a couple of holidays back that I own. Therefore, for me, it's a skip, but it's a nice collection at least. And then there's a lip trio. I will skip because I'm more attracted towards the Prada trio and the Western Atelier trio. I want to try something different, something new to me. And also a couple of glosses that are nice, but I own. So it's a nice collection. I think you can't go wrong with this collection as well. There's juice there because the formula is not standard powder, at least, like previous years. At position number 7, there's Hourglass. Now, Hourglass made a mess. I have a nice video that was quite popular about how to pick your holiday Hourglass palette, but new palettes have been released, the Barnes ones. Now, for me that I'm in Europe, I don't think I will get access to those palettes, but my favorite is the volume number 2, the Barnes volume number 2, because it has the repeat shade of that highlighter from the Jellyfish palette that I wanted. So if I have the chance, I'm going to spend 1 month in US for work next month in November. I will be very busy for work. I don't think I will be able to do shopping, but I will have a few days off. I will be in Chicago, New York. So I think I will have the chance to pick that palette in person if it's still available in November, early December. Other than that, this release was messy. 6 new palettes plus 1 quad. It's too much all at the same time. Probably, the timing was not planned well. I don't think it was intentional. I think it ended up being this way. I like the Barnes palettes more. Even my favorite are the Evil's Eye and the Barnes Volume 2. Even Barnes Volume 3, especially for medium skin tones, is very nice. I like the muted quality, and Lex Young has an amazing video about it. Hourglass powders are my favorite. You can't beat the Hourglass powders. Now, I have a video about depotting my Hourglass. This is my palette, my Hourglass palette. It's limiting because of this shade. So these are all ambient lighting powders, but since I have this blush here, I cannot put a big fluffy brush. So I want another pan of ambient lighting powder to be placed here, and this will go to another palette. So I think I will buy the Heavy Side palette and swap 2 pans so that here I will have my entire palette of ambient lighting powders. I've used it a lot, especially this part, because this is, I'm limited by the presence of the blush. If you have identified your perfect ambient lighting powder, then the best value, of course, is a big size of your favorite powder. But these palettes are nice. I tend to reach more these palettes, especially now that I made my perfect ambient lighting powder palette, compared to singles. But it's just me. I decluttered my single because I wasn't using it, while this I'm using it. So it depends on you. It's a very personal choice. Of course, singles, permanent singles are the best value for the quantity you get, for the price. But for me, at least, this is the right time to buy these type of palettes. You can try different products, and you have a video that you can refer to if you want to make your custom palette. It was fun. At position number 6, that is the top position of the group number 2, the relevant group, is the Suku winter collection. So the one by Hork Makeup. It's an amazing collection. The top picks, in my opinion, are the blush. Maybe the liquid eyeshadows are very nice as well. But the palette, the one with the brown, the more neutral one. So you have the burgundy again. You have this a dark palette, more cool toned palette. Nothing special in terms of packaging. The packaging is standard one. There will be a special edition holiday collection, the Japanese one with more face and eye palettes. I will skip those palettes. High quality, but the cooler tone palette looks very similar to one by Clé de Peau that I have. So I'm not interested in those, but I think I will end up buying. The palette is 142, I think, despite having promised myself not to buy it because I can dupe it quite well within my Suku collection, but I still want it. And then we are at the top group, the special group, the best packaging and the most opulent. And we have 5 positions in this group. The spot number 5 goes to Yves Saint Laurent. The palette was delusional to me. There's a kind of net on top of the palette, and I wanted it not to be just printed, but to have some thickness, like a metal grid on top of the palette. That would have made the packaging more special. But it's just printed, like smooth, just printed net. And I don't like it a lot. Then I also seen videos about using the palette and it's too warm tone. So it was more special from the edited picture. I think it had that grunginess that I find in the Byredo, for example, but a greenish quality that is satisfied by the Byredo now. I prefer the color story of the Byredo compared to the Yves Saint Laurent that is quite plain. But overall, the collection screams opulence. Is a very nice gift. I think it would be very appreciated. That's why I put it here at lower position, but in this special group. And position number 4, there's the Chantecaille. I think they did well with this holiday collection. I have discussed about the collection when I talked about my Cheetah palette, and I discovered that this shimmery shade that you can see, I use it quite a lot, is very nice. Is a cream to powder formula, and one of my favorite ones because it's very thin. So I wouldn't mind to add Silver Willow, I think it's called duo, so the gray duo, to my collection because I'm quite satisfied by this. Despite being overpriced, despite the mattes not being my favorites, but they are nice enough. I prefer my Viziers, but these are high quality anyway. I wouldn't mind to add just one duo in my collection. That collection is well-rounded, is minimal, with just 3 lipsticks and 3 duos, but it's a nice collection to consider. At position number 3,
we need to interrupt this video because the new Natasha Denona ROXA palette has just been revealed. I've seen picture of it from Just Here for Beauty or Diet Makeup. My first impression here is it looks like an Adept palette because of the middle shade that is a swirly batik shade. The problem is that this palette is too neutral pink. In this ranking, it would rank at the lowest, next to Tom Ford, so after the 20th position, for sure in group number 4. So yeah, no, not my color story, but for people that like neutral pinks, it may be nice, but I don't. Just cover the 2 purples and the middle shade, and you'll find a neutral pink with a pop of very desaturated purple that will sheer out as a gray. So no, the purple is more in the packaging than in the shades. I mean, there are 15 shades and only 3 purples. With all that pink and orange, no, she could have done a little bit better this time.
At position number 3, there's the Dior Couture Holiday Collection. That is a very nice collection, but the quality of the powders itself is more standard, I would say. It would be, I think, a very nice gift idea, but it's not for me because since I'm picky with makeup and I tend to care about the formulas even more than the colors, maybe it's a strong statement. I hate orange, you know it, but still I prefer cool tones. But if I find cool tones in a Big Dechelé formula or in a slurry Japanese formula, then they get me. So the Dior is a no for me because the palettes there are not the Big Dechelé formula, but is the reformulated standard formula by Dior. But still they are pretty.
Hi, that's editing me. A quick mention of the other 2 Dior palettes for the holidays. There's one big palette with lip product inside. For me, it's, I don't like such a big palette and never buy those things. A bit gimmicky for me. But there's I think a quint with the rectangular pens. Well, that is intriguing. I like the color story because it's a combination of cooler and warmer tones. There's the burgundy that is very trendy. I want to swatch it in person. That palette may be my favorite out of the entire collection.
There are also liquid lipsticks that are metallic, so there's that holiday factor that makes them special. The packaging is golden, so very luxury. And then we have the lipsticks that are also golden. Then we have a highlighter in a very pretty packaging, gold and white. Also the nail polishes are with the golden packaging. So it's very opulent. Standard colors, a bit spiced up with glitters or rich, bold colors, a lot of red and gold in the colors of the makeup itself, besides the packaging. It's a pretty collection to look at and to receive as a gift. So it deserves, in my opinion, the number 3 spot. At number 2, just for the opulent packaging, is the Guerlain. Now, it has a very ugly warm red color story. The formula is, as usual with Guerlain nowadays, they switch to standard powder formula. They probably have higher margin. They do not understand that they have to switch to cooler tones and Big Dechelé formula. All this red pens. We have seen that in the Pucci collection. We are seeing it now with this holiday collection. I mean, I would have picked it up because the package is fantastic, but not refillable with all of this red. Looks like you have an eye irritation. I mean, you have a pink eye. It's a pink eye color. There's nothing to say about it. That's the truth. So a very pretty packaging with the ugly color story. Personally, I don't like the lipstick cases, the image of lipsticks on top with those encrusted crystals. I would have preferred flowers or something like that, not lipsticks. And then you have the meteorites, but yeah, this is from last year. I've used not too much. And then I also picked the Pucci one that is exactly the same with the new fragrance, while this was still the violet fragrance. So it's now talc free, but it has fragrance. So I need to go through to use up mine before thinking about another one. Unless the packaging is so special, like the Pucci one, that I feel the desire to buy the packaging. But in this case, for the holiday collection, you have something very similar to this with the blue color. I don't think it's special enough to justify the purchase unless you don't have the meteorites. Between the meteorites and the ambient lighting powders by Hourglass that are similar products, I prefer the Hourglass. It's fragrance free and is very similar. I think it's more controllable having pressed pens instead of, bulky pearls that can go around. They can drop, it can get stuck into the brush and then drop to the floor. It's a bit messy. So I prefer the Hourglass. But these are, indulgences. If you are the type of person that are sensitive to those type of indulgences. But yeah, the Guerlain is too pretty of a collection not to deserve the second position. And the first position, the top ranked holiday collection, is the Chanel one. I'm not going to buy, but I recognize the special factor. What makes it deserve the first position, in my opinion, is the fact that combines a standard packaging, but guys, the CC logo has its own allure. You put CC on a piece of plastic, on a piece of paper, and it gets special. And Chanel knows it. But Chanel here has a standard packaging, still well accepted. I think it still looks glamorous and opulent just because of the CC factor, but they put a great formula now. The highlighter is the Baked Gelée formula, and you know how smooth it is. Now, the highlighter by Chanel is more glittery than this, but I think glitters in the holiday collection is appropriate. It's a very pretty highlighter, nothing to complain about it. It has a peachy tone, so in my opinion, it would be very similar to this shade, peachy yellow hue with more glitter. So I think I can get a very similar effect by combining these two shades by the Dior. So it would be this one and this one. So combining these two, I can get something very similar. Maybe I should put something similar, you see? This I think is very close to the color of the Chanel one. But the Chanel one will have more glitter. Let's put it here. Oh, yes. I think this is exactly the color of the Chanel one. So that also shows you the versatility of palettes like this. You can mix and match and create your custom color, save money with that. This is much more practical, right? More backstage, more makeup artist intended, while the Chanel one is more a consumer intended or very poshy makeup artist, but it's a very pretty color. Wow, this is amazing. I like the combo of this. Very nice. Anyway, the quad has the violet, a little bit brownish violet. This is by Chanel, by the way. I have the nail polish by Chanel on my nails. It weared off a little bit, you see. So it's been 1 week already, so it's time to remove it. But anyway, I was saying the quad. So it has that violet brown and also an orange and a pink. And the silvery blue, the trendy silvery blue that we are seeing everywhere now. It gives me 80s vibes, but in a good way. And the formula is baked and reminds me, let me pick some things. That Chanel formula of the quad reminds me of Pat McGrath. Those baked shade, these are not baked gelée, are more baked, but is a very thin, smooth formula. And Pat McGrath has also an amazing set of blushes from the Bridgerton collection that I decluttered. Was Bridgerton 2. That formula was kind of close to this one and very smooth and airy. You see this thin formula. That Chanel formula is very close to this, so it's very thin. So it's more like a watercolor effect rather than bold pigment. Now, I have this Star Wars palette by Pat McGrath with similar colors, so I can get my 80s vibes, you know, by Pat McGrath. I can get similar looks if I disperse the pigment and shear out the pigment, but the point is that I would never reach for these colors. I picked this palette specifically for this, and you can see that this is very similar to the light blue in the Pat McGrath Mega Mothership palette. So let me swatch it. You see? So anyway, back to the Chanel palette. I have these colors. If I want to have an 80s look, I can go to Mother Pat. Mother Pat never fails with that opulent vibe. But I'm very interested in the formula of that quad. It's very forgiving on mature eyes or texture skin or whatever skin you have. Can be young, can be older. So it's a very nice formula for my taste, for my type of taste and my type of makeup. And also those are scary colors that, since you can shear them out like a watercolor effect, become less scary. I won't consider it because it's too expensive, but the other oversized quad that is going to come for spring, well, that gets my attention. It's warm, but I like the bottom left shade. So I'm intrigued by that quad more than this type of color story by Chanel. And who knows, maybe we are going to get more, because it looks like it's more of a collaboration with Harrods more than the definitive holiday collection, but we will see.